Hi, I'm Adam Eland. I write about content and AI for lawyers and legal marketers. Today, we're talking about AI visibility, what it is and why it matters for your firm. AI visibility is simply getting cited, quoted, and referred by AI large language models like Chat GPT, Perplexity, and Google Gemini. Prospective clients do not decide one day that they need a lawyer or an outside counsel. They start with a problem, right? And increasingly, the first place they go to try to find an answer is AI, a large language model. To grow your business, you need to be part of that conversation. SEO is important, but it's not enough. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I went to ChatGPT and I put in a query that a business owner might put in. This is not directly a legal question, but it heavily implicates sort of a legal answer. And critically, I had ChatGPT search the web. If you don't ask it to search the web, it's going to look at its training data first. And it's a little bit of a black box exactly how it decides to search the web if you don't give it that explicit instruction. How can I protect my business from immigration raids? Obviously, a popular topic of conversation right now. And you can see it generated a response fairly quickly. It's fairly thorough with final advice. But what I want you to pay attention to here is the source citing. You can see each different component has a source cited. And if you look, some of them have multiple sources for the same information. For example, this has 16 different ones. And you can see that we have a pretty wide mix of sources that are, you can see this, it can take you to the source as well. But some of the sources are sort of advocacy groups, either trade organizations or issue advocacy groups. Some of them are traditional media sources, online media sources, and then some of them are firms. And that's obviously where you come in. And you can see these are populated all through here. And each section cites to different sources. You know, if you think about a blue link search as the start, you're asking a question and you're really looking for a directory of results. But here, the information comes right to you, sourced, and that's the starting point for your investigation. So you can start to look at the specific areas that you're concerned with. Say you're concerned with an ICE response plan, putting something like that together. You might go to this section and you might see, oh, here are some firms who are quoted as authorities for this. I did the same thing in Google Gemini two different ways. So look here, this is an AI overview. Here, I just typed the exact same query into Google Gemini. Into Google. And it automatically generated this AI overview, which you're all familiar with. This is the most common way that sites are going to happen right now because everybody uses Google or Bing, and it's surfacing these results and providing this context. Now, both Google and Bing have opportunities to do answer engine marketing, which is actually paying for placement next to AI answers or sort of interstitial with AI answers. But that's not what we're talking about here today. We're talking about organic reach, creating the environment where AI cites you. So here we are in Gemini, and you can see they display their links a little differently, and their links are different. I think that's really important. The links are very different across the different LLMs, but they're also different for each person who searches because there's personalization in AI answers. So it's considering the fact that I'm in Florida, my search history if I'm on Google, my AI history if I'm on ChatGPT, everything it knows about me in deciding what information to give me and who to cite for that information. But you can see here a number of sites. This section here, you can see we have both the same groups of things, advocacy groups, media, and firms. And as you can see with this one, it's sort of, you move through it and you can see what's cited for each thing. right there. And it goes all the way through. And then here we have something that is different. And this is a quote. Here, this is a piece of information that they only had one source for. So they quoted, they cited the source directly. That's another way to be added. If you're providing novel information, it might cite you that way. And this is a nonprofit law group, but a law group nonetheless. Now I want to show you the results on Google Gemini. So this is different. This is Google's native AI dashboard. Google just announced that it's trying to move things towards this search environment rather than the blue link search environment. So AI overviews are going to become this kind of a search experience. And you can see it's a little more elegant with the way that it browses through the sources here. But as it goes, and I would say I'm not paying much attention to the actual information here because it's actually quite similar between the three sources. And it's pretty generic, but relatively good information as best as I can tell. I'm not an attorney, but I do work with attorneys, and as best as I can tell, it's pretty accurate information. Also, I check the cites and sources, which you always should do. But you see Holland Knight is cited quite a bit here. And then E-Verify, that's government sites also, frequently cites government sites. And then you see Epstein, Becker, Green here. Just lots of Baker Hostetler. These are firms that publish content. That's why they end up here, Fisher Phillips. It's also considering my location, and that factors in as well. So now I want to just go back quickly to Chat GPT for just a second. And I want to make the point, a point here. At the end of the Chat GPT, it surfaced a carousel of actual articles related to the search that were cited in the search. So that's another distribution vehicle for your content. But then I asked it a follow-up question, which was, based on the response you just formulated, who is an expert I can trust to help me prepare? Okay, so this is asking ChatGPT for a recommendation. What is it going to do with that? Again, still searching the web. So here's what it did. It is literally naming firms that it finds to be responsive to my query. It is referring me to firms. You can see information about who leads the practice group, but then it comes in here and it gives me actual experts, individuals who are experts in the area of immigration law that it finds credible to recommend to me. And it says why. It's citing with Wikipedia, which, by the way, ChatGPT does often, almost 50%, a ton of Wikipedia. And it's citing publications, books that were written by some of these, and the firms that they're in. And then it gives us a chart and recommends next steps. There's just two other things I want to show you here. One, interesting, from Google Gemini, I asked it the same follow-up question, same exact follow-up question, and it did not give us any recommendations for actual attorneys. Instead, it gave us criteria for helping us select an attorney. So I think that it's interesting that Google is not actually referring. However, I think these criteria are quite interesting because they help you understand what it's looking for when it evaluates it. A follow-up question to ChatGPT might be, what do you look for? What were the criteria used to make those recommendations? Then you can back into those criteria and see how your firm meets it and how you're marketing those things on your site and in your content to help increase your AI visibility. The last thing I want to show you is this. This is a tool that pulls from the Chat GPT what queries it actually made to Bing. So these are not what I typed in. You saw what I typed in. Instead, these are what it determined were the best ways to get answers from Bing. So this is very informative too. You can see these two came from my first query, only two. How to protect business from immigration raid guidance. So guidance it added, but it was generally very similar to my query. And raid preparedness legal tips was the other thing it determined. So this is very helpful for keyword research and for understanding how it breaks down complicated prompts into queries for Bing. Hopefully, that gives you a good window into AI visibility, why it's important for your firm. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, please give us a like and a follow. And if you'd like to chat more about AI visibility or anything else in the space, hit me up. I'm on LinkedIn, Adam Eland.